Is Fatima okay? She's missing, isn't she?
What the fuck do you know about that? No, what the fuck do you know? Hey!
It's enough. Like, what happened? It's okay.
Welcome, Friendly Faithful. We are back to cover episode 9 of season 3. We are almost at the season finale. This episode is entitled Revelations Chapter 1. So hopefully we're going to be getting some answers this season. If you're new here, like and subscribe. Also look in the description. I have interviews with the cast and also reviews of every single episode this season. But before I go into my latest review, I have a special interview with Corteon Moore, who plays Ellis on the show, to talk about everything that went down in episode 9 and to also give some hints about what we have in store for the finale and maybe even season 14. How you doing, brother? I think we haven't spoken since season 2, so a lot happened since then. So, yeah, we're going into episode 9 this weekend. I kind of wanted to get your characterization about how Ellis stands compared to Boyd, because when you look at Boyd, he was willing to sacrifice Abby to save the town. Do you think Ellis is willing to do the same, or is he the complete opposite, where the town has to go to make sure Fatima is safe if it comes to that?
Yeah, I think the unfortunate truth is the town would have to go. I don't think he plays about Fatima. Like he's willing to do whatever it takes, you know. And I think like the difference between Boyd and Ellis is that he doesn't have a kid at this moment. I think if Ellis were to have a son or a daughter, or if Ellis were to have any child, he would maybe think a little differently. But at this point, like I think there's even a piece of me that's like he might pop his dad if he goes after it. Like you just never know. Like I think it's just young love in that form is like way too unpredictable, and he doesn't really know what to do with all of these emotions. So yeah, I think honestly that's like one of the biggest differences. But the cool thing is I think Ellis through these challenges is learning why his dad made the decisions that he made, and I think he is slowly itching towards being around the same headspace. But at this moment, like where we are after episode 8 before episode 9, I think he's like nothing. There's nothing that can stand between me and saving the person that I love, which is dangerous. Yeah.
True. And speaking of that, with episode 9, I thought Ellis was about to crash out a little bit with Elgin at first because he's just getting tired of the way he was talking. But I noticed something even a little bit more dangerous. The fact that when he started kind of revealing where things were going, talking about Elgin, Ellis looked at him like he knew something was up, but he was like, I'm gonna play it a little bit cooler to get the information I need. So how much do you think Ellis knows at this point? Does he know that Elgin definitely did something, or do you think he's still 50-50 about it?
I think he's still figuring it out, but I think the thing about being in a place like this for as long as he has, at this point, it's like just over 2 years and then a couple weeks, is you do learn, I would imagine you learn, you pick up some survival instincts in terms of like, even just like between the people that you're around, because all of these new people and all of these random people are in this place that's dangerous in of itself. But then you really, I think, have to be attentive to like who you're sleeping in the same building as, who are you sharing resources with. So I think everybody is hyper focused. So when somebody acts out of character, it immediately sets a switch off in you. And I think that's what Ellis is picking up on with Elgin. It's like, you used to be this kid like 3 days ago that would stand in a corner and puke over the sight of blood. And that's telling me that maybe there's some divine plan that Fatima's missing because of some kid that was missing when you were, like there's this things aren't adding up. So I think he's gonna take that information, and I think he's gonna figure out how to move forward, which is growth, because I do think he would have crashed out if this was season 1 Ellis. It would have been game over.
Definitely. Now, I talked to Harold yesterday, and he mentioned that you and I think he said Ricky always have the wildest theories about what's going on. So I got to know, what's the wildest theory you've had that just been totally wrong so far?
I mean, I had one thing that I was all season. I was telling Harold that I feel like in like the episodes 8, 9, and 10 that Ellis was going to be in the forest alone at night with a bow and arrow, and like in the trees hunting the monsters like Rambo. For some reason, I really saw it, and I thought I was gonna have a horse. I thought I was gonna go like all kind of like Rambo cowboy and like run away from the town maybe, and maybe my baby was like in like those like baby backpacks you can get.
Yeah.
I thought my baby was gonna be born at this point. Put the baby in a backpack, but like as you can, I even as I say it now, I realize how insane and dumb that sounds. So it was never gonna happen. Oh, I also thought that me and Ricky were gonna have like almost a fight to the death. And because I thought I was gonna be so upset that my dad was still treating him like his own son. And I thought I was gonna beat the hell out of him. And Ricky's a real fighter in real life, and I'm not, but my character can absolutely beat up Kenny. Like there's no question. So I thought I was gonna finally get to put him in his place in that way. But yeah, normally all of my theories just end up with me being like a cool action hero, and they're never really fulfilled. I'm normally just getting hurt and like, just bad shit's happened to me. I never really get to dish it out to anybody. So hopefully next season
I
I do.
appreciate you guys. Take care. Hopefully I'll talk to you in season 4.
Nice to talk to you, man.
All right, special thank you to Corteon Moore for that wonderful interview about what Ellis has going on in the finale, possibly, and also with episode 9 and where he may end up in season 4. So let's get right into this episode. It's called Revelations. So obviously we need to be getting some answers. We've been waiting all season. Heck, we've been waiting since season 1 to be getting some answers. And I think we got one of our biggest ones this episode concerning Tabitha. Tabitha hugs Victor, the memories come back, and we find out that essentially Tabitha is Victor's mother. I guess reincarnated might be the best term for it. Once she had that hug, she literally saw Smiley killing Miranda at the bottle tree. And then we can see the obvious connection now. And I know some of you have already put that together beforehand. The fact that when she first meets Henry, the bracelets that she made for Jim are also present in Henry's home. That gives you the connection right there. So essentially, Tabitha is being reborn as Miranda, and we kind of suspected that is the case. And the concern now is how much of these memories does she have retained in her mind? Does she just have Miranda's memories? Because remember, Henry said that Miranda felt that she was chosen and that the ones that came before her had kept failing, and that she's the latest one to try and reconcile everything. So if that's the case, is Miranda herself, was she a reincarnation of those that came before her? So really, how far back are these memories that Tabitha can possibly tap into? Is it just Miranda, or is it also the ones that were chosen before, going back to the origin of this town and this apparent experiment that we have going on? So that's the big question there. Also, I'm interested in knowing that besides, the visions and things that Miranda was seeing, does she have any other tangible powers that Tabitha can possibly tap into that can make things different this time around? Because it can't be the same exact situation, the same exact loop. Is Tabitha fated to continually have the same scenario over and over again? I don't think that's obviously going to be true, because Tabitha is bringing her own experiences out in the real world, and also her own individual family that's different from what Miranda had going on. So that's what needs to be fleshed out. Obviously, we only have one more episode left, so I don't think all of that's going to be fleshed out. I think a big chunk of that is going to be in season 4, but it does make me wonder if we're going to be getting any prolonged flashbacks in the season finale, really going back to what Miranda was hoping to accomplish by going to the bottle tree and going inside this time. Does she have the ability, or did she have the ability to potentially direct where she would end up going through the bottle tree? Because Smiley was there waiting for her. So I think he knew the threat that Miranda posed by being able to go through the bottle tree. And I think this is the first time in the entire series that we've seen a night creature run. I always thought that, oh, well, as long as you stay a few steps ahead of them, you're all right, because they're always kind of shambling around. But now we know if they need to run, they can do so, which makes them more deadly. And also the idea of, I had before about Kenny going in there with the Molotov cocktails and burning down the caves was a good idea. Probably not so much now that I know they can move so fast. So I'm actually kind of hoping to see more of that in season 4. That makes them even deadlier, knowing that they can move like that. So now that we know that Tabitha has this connection, how does that translate to Julie? Because Julie did say that she heard her mother's voice speaking to Victor while she was in the ruins, and she was trying to get back to that voice. So now that we know that there's a connection there. I'm hoping that Victor actually sits down more with Tabitha, pretty much what he was trying to do with the Jasper puppet. He needs to be doing that with Tabitha, and then we can really flesh out everything that happened and try and get knowledge of everything that was going on, preceding even Miranda being there, because that's where I feel the answers are at. And then that leads me to my next person, which would be Victor. And I'm going to, before talking about Victor, let me talk about the boy in white. I really am tired of the boy in white. I feel he's like useless and he needs to go. I wish he could be killed like a regular human character because he just shows up and he's been doing almost absolutely nothing this entire season. Remember when he first came on the scene this season when Tabitha woke up in the real world? We thought he was going to give her some direction, and he did nothing. And she ends up back in the town, still doing nothing. But now with the bottle tree possibly being cut down, now he makes an appearance. Now he's different. Now he's more mature, actually grown. And he still doesn't give any answers. He only tells Victor that you have to find out for yourself and just don't cut the tree down. So in a sense, he's still kind of useless. But the key thing for him was the fact that he said everything's changing now. So to me, that symbolizes that him growing older and seeming a little bit more jaded means he's losing whatever innocence he had, whatever childlike wonder or imagination that he was holding on to. And maybe that's what allows him to move between these two worlds like this. So maybe he's also concerned and afraid as well because things are changing, but we still don't know what exactly is causing everything to change. The few kind of hints that we got back in season 1, it was the whole idea of whoever was on that phone talking with Jim, telling him, your wife shouldn't have dug that hole. So that's a potential thing right there. Victor going into the caves. There's been moments where it seems like who's ever in charge of the town has been threatened, also with Boyd killing a night creature. But we still don't know what's the catalyst that's causing all of these changes this season, particularly with it snowing for the first time. Victor mentioned that. So that's something that we didn't get an answer to in this episode, and hopefully we will in the actual finale next week. But enough of the boy in white. He can just go. As far as Victor, I did like the whole conversation that his father Henry and Jade had about him. The whole idea of he is a product of this town more than anyone else because he grew up in the town, unlike everyone we've seen, from a child to an adult. And finally, Henry spoke to someone that kind of drove that point home that you don't have to come in, and try and fix Victor. Just follow your fatherly instincts to support him, but you don't have to fix anything. This is the way that he is. This is the way that he's always going to be. And the best thing you can do is support him as he is in his journey. And I think that's going to strengthen the bonds between the two and erode some of the stress that Victor has felt being around Henry because like he's been feeling like he's a disappointment because he's so much different from how he was when his father was in his life as a child. So I really like that Jade imparted that wisdom on Henry. Tying into Victor again, let's also talk a little bit about Jasper. I thought the whole Jasper thing was a red herring and we wouldn't have to worry about Jasper anymore. And that was one of my biggest disappointments this season, the fact that you had a potential demonic puppet that you could utilize on the show and you decide to say, no, that was just a false memory. But maybe it's not a false memory because when Jade sees Jasper again, and I think that was Christopher holding Jasper, Jasper screams out at him. So there is something behind the puppet. I don't know if it's the puppet itself that's the entity or somebody pulling the strings, but there's something there. So hopefully, if not by the end of this season, next season we'll have a full-on demonic Jasper, running around causing havoc because we're watching a sci-fi horror show. I think that would be a fantastic thing to have and to spice things up a little bit. I think a lot of people well, maybe not a lot, but a significant amount of people have been talking about. We've had a lot of slow episodes this season, particularly in the middle portion. So something like that would spice things all the way up, as far as dialogue goes. So hopefully we'll get that next season. And I think that would be a fantastic addition to the show to kind of up the sci-fi horror level. But back to Victor. He's been frustrated, and I'm wondering how he's going to reconcile this whole idea of Tabitha being his mother and how that's going to bring the Matthews family together with him. Of course, Jim, Julie, and Ethan, everybody feels connected with Victor, but it's different knowing that he's potential family, even though it's family removed because of what happened with Miranda and everything. It's obviously a connection there, which makes him, in a sense, uh, Tabitha's son. So I wonder how that's going to change the whole dynamic, particularly since Jim has said, I'm going to support you no matter what going forward in your quest to find out the truth about this place. So that kind of makes me think, the fact that Jim is kind of acting right these last few episodes, he has something important to do in the finale, whether that's finding out some type of revelation, or maybe it might be a sacrifice. We really haven't spoken about who may potentially die in the finale. The focus, for on my end, has been really Elgin, Ellis, Fatima, that crew. But we didn't really think about anybody possibly in the Matthews family passing away. I think, Tabitha is really safe because with this revelation, she has to see it through. Julie is doing the whole astral plane, time travel thing going on. So she's going to be around for a significant amount of time, I would think. Ethan has been turning more dark, as Hannah Jeremy said to me, as far as understanding the town. And it's kind of interesting to look at Ethan's journey compared to what Victor went through. Victor was by himself, kind of coming to all these conclusions. Ethan has his family with him, but it's still pretty dark. He's openly spoke with his sister about how things are going to be when their parents pass away, how they're going to have to depend on each other. So I think Ethan is going to be around for a while too, as he's working out all of these things. So that kind of leaves Jim as potentially the odd man out if they take somebody out from that family. So we have to keep an eye on what he potentially does to help Tabitha see this journey through in the season 3 finale next week. I think that's something that could be very, very important with the way his mindset is now. I did like the emergence again of Sara. Sarah's been one of the characters, after being so prominent in season 1, season 2, has kind of taken the back seat this season. And I think it's been kind of to a detriment. She was one of the stronger characters in the fact that she's done horrific things, but now she's trying to make those things right the best way that she can. And we see that coming to the forefront this episode in the fact that she's trying to get some type of sense of normalcy back. But what this episode has revealed to us is that if you've been touched by the town in any form or fashion, it never completely goes away. You can be attacked again, psychically or mentally at any given point. We see it happening now with Randall, Marielle, and Julie to a degree. And apparently it can happen again with Sara. And the voices are mocking her, telling her that Fatima is missing and there's nothing you can do about it. Now, I'm wondering the entities behind this attack on Sara. It seems like it's deliberate in the fact that they want or knew that she was going to be going to Boyd and Ellis with this information. So I'm wondering if they're setting a trap. If they eventually find out where Elgin has Fatima captured, at that point, is there going to be some type of group attack on them? Or are they timing it to the point where they're going to get there just as the night creature baby is born, or Fatima turns into a night creature, and then it's going to be an attack where somebody's going to go, either Boyd or Ellis. And of course, Boyd, I believe, is pretty safe, but maybe not so Ellis. I thought Ellis would be the one that potentially might have to kill Fatima, but it might be the other way around. We'd have to keep an eye on that to see where things go on that front. Um, oh, another big thing that I almost forgot about. I've also been saying that Acosta is going to be one of the folks that turns into a big problem and tries to snatch the leadership potentially in season 4. But now we also have to keep an eye on what there could be multiple factions out there in the town, and that can be the kind of warfare we see. It's not just going to be a situation where it's Acosta's group against Boyd's group. We might have 3 or 4 different groups out there. And the reason that I'm thinking about that now is because when Acosta was out there with Donna looking for Fatima, she's asking all these questions that she normally does. She's very perceptive, even as a new cop. She's telling Donna that, I know you're hiding something from me. How can you expect me to help you and be an asset here if you're not going to reveal what's going on? And Donna was able to set her straight, like, we don't have time for that. We're looking for Fatima at this point. But she did say, after all this is over with, then we can have a conversation. So she's warming up to Acosta. And I'm wondering if Acosta is going to be able to sway Donna's already kind of faltering trust in Boyd, because as she said, the people don't believe in you anymore like they did because of everything that's been happening. So if Acosta starts chipping away at Donna, I think Donna can fold a little bit. I think Donna can be swayed to Acosta's side because of everything that's going down. Donna's not the same person she was anymore. She's still very strong and wants to keep this sense of community alive. But as she told Acosta, Fatima is the key to that. She's really the one that's a symbol of hope, and that's the one that's allowed us to kind of have this sense of community that we've been able to build, this sense of normalcy. So once they find out that Fatima is not safe, that she can mentally break, that she can be violated by the town to the point where she turns into a night creature or gives birth to a night creature baby and has killed one of them, that's going to be pandemonium. I think everybody's going to take sides at that point. There's going to be people against Boyd, and we still don't know if Donna's going to be the one that reveals to Colony House and the townspeople what really happened to Tilly. It's possible Acosta is going to be the one to get that information out of Donna, and then things will really be upside down. And speaking of Boyd, even with all the things he has going on physically right now, with his condition worsening, with the potential Parkinson's, I believe it is, he still showed very strong leadership qualities this episode. When he got up there and gave that rallying speech, he almost looked kind of presidential. The way he just rallied the troops, got them refocused after everything that's happened, this season. When things get tough, people are always going to look to him for guidance and for focus. And he tapped into that perfectly. Didn't go too hard, didn't go too soft, just had them very hopeful that we can do this. We can find Fatima in time. And it was a perfect diversion to keep people preoccupied from what he's really trying to, what him and Ellis are really trying to do, and find Fatima in time before anyone else. And speaking of Fatima, that baby is about to come, and Elgin has kept her under wraps so far. I'm wondering if Elgin is completely gone himself, because he's been listening to the kimono woman. But depending on how this night creature baby comes out of Fatima, that can be what snaps him back into reality. So it can be that he's not going to get killed by Boyd or Ellis. It could be that he gets killed by the kimono woman, because once that baby comes out, he says, oh no, you lied to me. This is obviously not going to be what's going to save us as townspeople. It needs to go. And that might be the moment where the kimono woman takes him out, because she's also hinted at doing that to Fatima when Fatima tried to cut the baby out. So she can tap into the real world and attack people if need be, speaking of the kimono woman. So maybe Elgin is not completely gone, and he might come to his senses once this baby is born. We'll just have to wait and see. As far as other revelations that happened this season, I think Randall was interesting in the fact that he's at this point giving up hope. He says none of us are going to make it out here alive, and I can understand why he would have that viewpoint with the bugs going through his head, constantly buzzing and everything. So Randall's kind of out of commission for the moment, and I don't know if he's going to do anything significant in the season finale, because I don't see his bug situation being resolved anytime soon. So he might be on the mend for the foreseeable future. We talked about Jim and Marielle. Marielle's kind of taken most of the season off. I don't know how this this situation that, her, Randall, and Julia have gone through, we don't really know how it's affected her to this point. She's keeping everything kind of close to the vest, so she might be a wild card in the season finale. Maybe she turns into a night creature out of the blue or something, but I don't know yet. She really hasn't spoken about how she's processing this information, and she hasn't been attacked directly by anyone else. But it does make me wonder, if she went to the ruins, what would happen with her? Would it be a triggering thing the same way it was with Julie, or is that unique ability only for Julie herself? So we'll just have to wait and see. But I'm interested to find out the depth of how Marielle has been affected by what happened in the dungeons. We just really don't know at this point. As far as, I think this would be a good way to conclude my hope for the finale, is that we get a little bit more information, or a lot more information, about what Tabitha is going to do with this revelation about being Victor's mother reincarnated, how that can help the town, what Jim can potentially find out. Will they get to Fatima in time? And if they do, will they be forced to kill Elgin, or will Elgin come to his senses on his own and maybe do a heroic sacrifice for Fatima, if Fatima can be saved? Or will Fatima die in the process of giving childbirth to something that is obviously not human? And is the kimono woman a benevolent spirit or a malevolent spirit? And I'm kind of inclined to think the latter, because the sneak peek clip that I put up earlier about Sara talking with Boyd and Ellis, and the entities laughing at her and saying you're not going to reach her in time, that makes me inclined to believe that the kimono woman is not friendly, and that this whole childbirth thing is going to be a complete disaster, if not just physically, but also mentally, for everybody involved. And let's just be honest, a benevolent being wouldn't have that appearance that the kimono woman has. So I think maybe finding out more about what her deal is, that would be nice to know in the finale too. So we have a lot to cover in the final episode. I'm not deluding myself that all of that I mentioned is going to be covered throughout the episode, but hopefully we get at least 50%, 75 maybe. We are on season 3, and I know a lot of people are getting restless, and I've said earlier in some of the recaps to begin the season, that I think this is a make or break season, that this information, if there's not enough revelations that are answered, people are going to start tuning out at that point. I don't think people will be completely done with From, but it won't be a week to week. We have to see it and find out what's going on. And I think people are teetering at this point, and they want to know that information as far as like what the origins are, where are we going, especially because I heard that there's supposed to be 5 seasons now. So really season 4 and season 5 need to be full speed ahead, if not just one more season, to really get all the answers we need to conclude the show. But that is my review of episode 9. I think this was a pretty good episode. I really like the information we found out about Tabitha, and now we should be all focused on this Fatima childbirth in the finale. So I think they set that up perfectly, and they just have to nail it. We'll see how much information they reveal about the town and the origins, and also what's going on with the children. I feel like we're getting closer to that as well, because obviously those children are not Tabitha's children. It was just Victor and Eloise. So are these other people's children? And if so, what caused them to be like this? And I would also include the boy in white in that scenario as well. But thank you for tuning in. Oh, forgot to mention, next week I will have an exclusive interview with none other than Harold Perrineau, aka Boyd Stevens, that will go up immediately after the finale is over with. We have an extended talk, so not these 5-7 minute interviews you've been seeing. This will be a good about half an hour just going into what happened in the finale and where we potentially go in season 4. So make sure to come back next week. Like, subscribe, turn your notifications on so you can get that interview as soon as the finale airs at midnight. So if you're not part of the midnight crew, make sure you kind of hold off. I'll make sure to try not put any spoilers in the description or in the thumbnails. And then if you watch it later on that evening, then you can come back and watch the full interview with Harold discussing everything that went down in the finale. But thank you again for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week to get your opinions on the finale. Take care and enjoy the rest of your weekend.